Hello, welcome to our Shepherd Staff 2020 Membership 301 webinar. Today we're going to focus on membership module utilities. Hi, my name is Rod Kiles and I am the manager of Concordia Technology Solutions. And you can reach me one of two ways if you'd like. You can always send an email to rod.kiles@cph.org, or if you'd like to give me a call, feel free to dial 314-268-1315. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to post those questions in the question box. Just a note, all the phones and microphones have been muted. So we've got a couple agents standing by to answer questions. They've been here long enough to really understand the software and understand the nuances of the different things that people will ask. Jordan's been here about a little bit over 5 years at this point in time. So he's one of our software support technicians. You may have spoken to him in the past. So he's answered lots of emails and phone calls. You can reach him by email at jordan.bogart@cph.org, and you can reach him by phone at 314-268-1338. Tag teaming on the questions today is going to be Dan Ray. He's one of our software support technicians. He's newer to the team, but he's answered lots of questions and tickets. You may have spoken to him as well. He's also led our field testing efforts prior to this release. So you can reach him at dan.ray@cph.org, and you can give him a call at 314-268-1332. So let's go ahead and go through our class overview. Each one of these sessions is broken into like little subsections. And we always start out with a class overview. It gives us a chance to discuss the topics that we're going to cover throughout the session. Then we jump into our discussion, and basically we have two discussions. There's a first discussion and the second discussion. I usually try to stop between 45, 50, 55 minutes, and then have a short 5-minute intermission where anybody can step away, grab something to drink, take care of whatever they need to. Then we return and resume, and we finish up the rest of the material at that point in time. Once we complete our second discussion, then we go into a quiz. It's just a 4-question quiz for this session. And then we have our question and answer session. So if there's any questions that were not answered during the session, we try to answer those questions at the end of the session. So let's go ahead and transition into our class overview. So the kind of like the utilities inside of the software, they're broken into two areas now. So there's tools and utilities. So that's going to be like the way that we break up most of this. We also have tools and settings now. So we're going to take a look at several different areas of the membership module. And we're going to look at something on the main screen as well. So we'll start out with tools. We're going to show you the send email tool that lots of people have been asking about. We'll go through Web Tools Sync. Then we'll go into utilities, and we're going to show you the reset utility. We're going to show default, change default printer settings, and we're also going to show the mail merge. I've kind of been torn with where mail merge falls. It kind of feels like a tool or a utility, but maybe it really falls under reports. But we're going to show it here during this session today and show people how to do a mail merge and how to create form letters. Then we're going to show tools and settings, and you've probably noticed the tools and settings button on the main menu, on the membership module now. So it's a big button there, and there's a bunch of tools in there. So we're going to show archival and cleanup. We're going to show combining duplicate person information. We're going to show you how to find data entry issues. Then also, we're going to go to tools, settings, continued. So we're going to talk about additional tools as well. There's only so many on that screen, but we're going to go through each one of them. We're going to show you how to do the mass update, promoting students, which is going to promote Sunday school kids and Sunday school grades. And we're going to show the export membership information utility. From there, we'll have our quiz and our question and answer session. And then depending on what we have left to do, we'll head home or tighten up the rest of our tasks before we leave out of the office. So wonderful. I'm excited. I hope you're excited as well. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. So we're going to switch screens and we're going to go over to Shepherd Staff. Everybody should have the opportunity to install Shepherd Staff. If you're attending this session, it probably means that you're supported. And Shepherd Staff is something that you'll be upgrading to. This last 5 webinars have all been focused on Shepherd Staff 8.8. And talking about focus, I'm going to turn off the webcam so that we can focus in on the software and kind of focus in on the presentation more than focusing in on my head. So I'm going to turn this off, and then everybody should be able to, and I just want to double check, they should be able to see my screen. So perfect. From there, we'll go to user ID, and I'm going to log in as the system administrator. Each person should have their own username. It's something we stress because a lot of it has to do with recording the actions and the things that people do inside the software. So if you're sharing a username, then you have no idea who did what inside of the software. And we want to be careful with that. Not that we think bad things are going to happen, but if bad things do happen, having an audit trail or an event log to go to show that information accurately is going to be important. So we can check for updates. We are on version 2020 8.8. Then we'll click OK. Then it'll check the server, so it'll reach out to our secure server and see if we're on the most recent version, and we are. So it congratulates us. If not, it'll put a bar across the top. You can click on that bar, then download and install the software. If you're offered a feature pack or a service pack and the new version, please install the feature pack and the service pack first, then install the full version. There's something with the order there that's important, so please do so. Okay, so from there, down at the bottom of the screen, it's going to have Shepherd Staff version 2020 8.8, release 2019 1031. Then from there, we're going to go into the membership module. We're going to kind of go through some of those tools and utilities. It's kind of become a convention of the software to have those tools and utilities inside of the program. There's fewer now than there was in the past, but there's probably going to be different things that you'll be able to benefit from by using these tools and utilities. The very first tool is going to be send email. Sending email is just how we communicate nowadays. Like it's a large part of communication, that in social media, but with this, you'll be able to send emails out to people who have email addresses inside of Shepherd Staff. So to access send email, I almost always use the send email icon here. It kind of looks like a little, I guess like an envelope with thrusters on the back of it for it to fly out wherever it's supposed to go. But you can also go to tools and go to send email, and you can launch it that way as well. So usually I just click there, and let me close this, and there we go. Okay, so with send email, the email does come with the software. There's no charge or anything like that to use this feature. We've made some enhancements along the way to allow customers to use, I'm going to call them web clients. So prior to this release, you had to send it out through Microsoft Outlook, and a lot of what we do, I guess, as organizations and churches and companies is we use Microsoft Outlook for just about all of our communications and sending emails. So that was kind of like the default, and people had to use that. But going forward, you can use web-based email, and most of us have some type of web-based email in our life. When I talk about web-based email, I'm talking about Gmail, Yahoo, AOL. It's literally one of those clients where they're basically giving you the service for free. So anybody who has an Android phone definitely has a Gmail account, and those of us who've been around for a while probably have a Gmail account as well. But basically, the system uses your default email client to determine where to hand this email off to. So the software doesn't have its own email client. This more plays as a front end for your email client. So it could be Outlook or it could be Gmail. It could be either one of those, and it can give you a chance to send email to people from the software. So let me close this just for a second. There's another window that I want to show. So I'm going to close this and close this. Then there's one setting that needs to be enabled before you try to go and send email. So when you're on the main screen, you'll go to Utilities. And then underneath Utilities, you'll go down to User Security. And there's been questions about user security in the last couple of sessions. This is where you're going to configure your user security for your touch points and stuff like that. So it's part of, so if I go in here and I go to Module Access and I go to Details, that's where you'll configure your touch points access for the different users inside of the software. So this is Pastor Rob, and he would have rights for touch points, being a pastor and everything. But you can basically turn those features on and off. With relationship to turning the features on and off, when it comes to email access, if you want a user to be able to send emails from the program, you have to enable email access. And usually you're going to have a default email address for that person. You'll have to, not have to, this is not required. The email ID or profile name is not required. It really comes down to your configuration in-house. So if you're using an email server in-house, it may require an email ID or a profile name. But then you can fill in the password, and then it would hand that information off to the server when you're sending it. And if you're using Gmail, you're logging in with their credentials, so you don't even have to have this information here. You just have to have the checkbox checked. So let me go ahead and click OK here. So we've enabled this. Then from there, you can go back to membership. And I'm going to close that window so I don't have as much visual clutter there. So then I can open up email. And at that point in time, this really looks a lot like a standard email window. So there's CC, there's BCC as subject, the option to attach a file, and it'll allow you to attach files to the system or to the email. It'll show you the default email client here on the left-hand side. So it's using Microsoft Outlook to send email. There's more email settings, which you click on that, and you can set up your Gmail settings here if you'd like. So if you're using Gmail, you can go in here and select one of the Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, Zoho. So those are the four most popular ones in the world, and this would allow you to send out through those clients. So name of server, and all of them come with, like, since they're in here, you don't have to know the SMTP information, but there are different SMTP servers. You'll just type in your password. You'll be able to make it default, and you'll be able to send it out from there. So for the most part, it should be really simple when you're setting that up, because since you don't have to know the SMTP information, you don't have to configure that, and you're just using one of these default clients, you'll just select that client and go forward from there. Okay, so from there, we're going to use Outlook for ours, so I'm going to close this. There is the option to use the message library, so you can create messages inside of here and save messages. So this could be our weekly bulletin. Okay, and then you can edit current message, save, and then you can edit the message, and then you can also delete, edit this template. Like, this is an email template here. And then, so what I'm going to do is select this for the current message, and it's going to insert it in here. Then I'll go to And then at that point, I'll be able to select the people that I want to send an email out to. So the who box is going to determine who I can include when sending out emails. So you have to have an email address. This does work for text messaging as well. It's pretty straightforward with the text messaging, though. It's not like cell phone text messaging, but it's very similar. With the text messaging, it's going to use the simple messaging protocol where it has an email address based on your cell phone provider. So like it has your phone number, then it has @sprintpcs.com or something like that. So every single company that provides text messaging has that extension. And actually, let me switch over to that. So we have some fictitious ones here, but they would literally look like this: phone number @tmomail.net. And then when you send an email to that email address, it's converted into a text message. So it works just like email, but it shows up on your cell phone in your text messaging app, like all your other text messages. It's a one-way type of communication. It's not like they can reply to it, since it's not that type of text messaging, but you can send text messages to people. So if you had a snowstorm or the church was going to be closed, or you wanted to announce something, you could do it through text messaging. So I'm going to switch back to email messaging, and here underneath emails, you can go through and select the people that you want to send it to. You can say home email, work email, personal email. You can include private email addresses. You could say one email address per household so that you don't email every single email address inside the system, or maybe you do want to email every single email address inside the system. But you would make the determination, kind of looking at them, like Dave Abbott has 2 email addresses here. You may want to email both, or you may just want to email one of those email addresses. Looks like we just have one home email address, the rest are personal. So with my system, since they're all personal email addresses, I would be emailing out to individuals most likely. So then from there, I can click on the people that I want to select. I can hold the control key down to select multiple records. And then I can click add, and then it'll move those names here from the left over to the right. I can also move them from the right back to the left. And then I can send out an email. So at this point, once I've selected the names that I want, I can click select. And I'll have the names there, the CC, BCC subject, and I can attach a file for my machine. I can display email before sending if I'd like. And then I can click send at that point in time, and it will hand it over to, I guess it's a handoff as well, but it'll hand it over to your client and send that information out at that point in time. Okay, and then let me give it just 1 second. I click that send button one more time there. And there it goes. So then it would pull up this information, and you'd be able to send the email at that point in time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that email. And you want to save changes? No. So it was sent successfully. If I don't send it from Outlook or my default client at that point in time, then it won't send, but I do have to send it out. Okay. Heidi asked the question, do you create the email message before you select the people? I think either would work. So if you're in here and you type the message, then went to and then your message would still be there. So you could do that, and you could CC certain people, and you could BCC certain people, or you may just want to, probably if it's me, I'm probably BCCing everybody, and I'm not 2ing or CCing people unless it's somebody who works in the church office. Like I think that's the only time I would 2 or CC people is if they're, I guess employed by the church in that case. So if I'm sending a message out to the congregation, I'm BCCing all of those people. I think, hey, Beverly, I think I just answered your question, but if I didn't, you can post another question in there. Oh, that's a good question. Hello, Daniel. Hope all is well there. Is there a way to email statements to people who have given? Yes, there is. Now, this new email window is just in membership right now, but if you go into contributions, there's an option for emailing contribution statements. So contributions. So, and I won't stay here too long, I promise. But when you go into contributions and you pull up your statements and mailing labels, you can configure your report and then you can email statements. And it brings up this window. You can tell it looks a little bit different, but this will allow you to email statements out to those people. So this does, main reason why I brought this up, this only works with Microsoft Outlook at this time. So we'll be revisiting the emailing of contribution statements when we redesign the contribution module here in the near future. Okay, thanks for those questions, everyone. I really appreciate it. Okay, so close contributions and go back to membership. Okay, and so that is sending out emails. Next, there's a couple tools in here that are used by a smaller set of people inside of our church, inside of our, I guess, our customer base. So there is the ability to upload your Shepherd Staff call list to Member Caller. So if you're a user of Member Caller, you'll have a UA code. You can select the predefined subgroups. You can also create your own subgroups. And I didn't mention what Member Caller is. Member Caller is it's a software that allows you to do mass phone calls. So you can, every once in a while, you'll get a phone call and it's like an automated call. That's what Member Caller is. It allows the pastor or the church office to create a message and then use the auto dialer to call the different members of the church, playing that message for them. So there's lots of churches that we have that use Member Caller. This allows you to get a subset of your people and communicate with them the message that you have. So that's what Member Caller allows you to do. You can create a new call list, which is based on a subgroup. You can delete old ones. You can refresh the list, and it basically hands it off to Member Caller. So Member Caller, and then the other one that I don't really have on the list that I just want to mention briefly is the Church 360 Unite Sync. Church 360 is a web-based church management software that we offer. Church 360 Unite is a portion of that software. Church 360 is a web-based client, and Church 360 Unite is one of those parts. And with Church 360 Unite, it's a website building software. It allows you to build a website where people can come and see a picture of the church, see the pastor and pastor's bios, see upcoming church events, and all this is on the web. And there's more features besides those few, but one thing with Shepherd Staff and Church 360 Unite, you can have an online church directory where you can sync basic contact information from Shepherd Staff up to Church 360 Unite, and then people can go to the website anywhere in the world log in, you have to have a login provided by the church, and then you can see an online church directory. So this sync utility allows you to send and receive information. It syncs between the two products. Okay, so the next tool that is actually on the list to talk about is going to be Web Tools. So Web Tools is part of this initiative or this push to add in greater flexibility for people outside the church office. So some of this Web Tools thing is about being able to provide updates. So like be able to, check online for updates and download them, but also like with Web Tools, it's about being able to record attendance and offerings at home. So this little sync utility, it's got like this address. You can click on the little link here to pull up your Web Tools site. And it looks like this. And then it'll give you the ability to log in. And I don't have my login set up for it, but when you log in, it will allow you to enter in attendance or offerings based on your permissions within the software. So there is that capability. There's people who, not everybody always comes into the church to do the type of work that they're supposed to do there at the church, but Web Tools allows you to sync the information to the cloud. Then wherever that person is, they'll pull up Web Tools, access the attendance batch entry or the offering batch entry, and then go through and record that information. And then when they get back to the office, they can pull that batch from online and just post it inside of Shepherd staff. So it could be attendance or offerings, but it allows you to work from home through the cloud is what it is. It's a cloud-based feature, and there's no additional charge for it. It's part of your contract, but some people will use it, some people won't, but it's definitely out there for people. Okay, so that's Web Tools, and it allows you to sync, and basically you're syncing information to the server so that you can enter in attendance or offerings. So you're talking about names, you're not talking about any kind of sensitive information. So names, envelope numbers so that you can record offerings, attendance, events, giving funds, church information so we can verify your account. It's a very short list of things. It's not a whole lot. And then once it's there, you can enter that information. It's on a secure server. Then you can pull it back down into Shepherd staff and post it, and then report just like you had entered the information in the church office. So it's pretty neat, pretty neat. Okay, so that's the last of the tools. So I'm going to close this. Okay, so we are utilities. So we've talked about tools, and next thing to talk about is utilities. So there's several utilities here, and not all of these are just membership module related utilities. Like the tools we're seeing here are going to relate to the system, but I think it's important since they're here now and we've just rolled out this membership module to talk about these at least briefly to kind of bring in additional tools that could help the user in case something weird happens. So, or if you just want to change the background color. So it's going to say reset window sizes and settings. So with this being a Windows system, every once in a while, there's situations where Windows gets stuck in a weird position or at a weird setting. And you're looking at it and you're like, man, I just can't make this window act right. Like it's too big or too small or things are stretched out. There's a couple utilities to fix those types of problems. Instead of you going in and manually trying to reset things. So you can go to utilities and say reset window sizes and settings. So that's one option. You can also use these two buttons here on your people view or grid views. So there's auto fit the column width, bring that back up, auto fit the column width to the display data. So you can do that and it'll shrink everything down. You can also reset your grid columns to the default width and order. So if you have it sorted and the widths and sizes aren't correct, you'll just reset them back to your default order. This is tied to your user, so you're not resetting everyone's, you're just resetting yours. So you can fix those two things by doing that. Okay, so let me close this just for a second. And underneath utilities, there's change background color. And yesterday, I was like, hey, let me change this background color so that everybody would see it. You can change the background color. That is the background color for what's going to be the new main menu going forward. It's not for each one of the modules because the modules are now going to be these floating windows that you see here. So you won't be able to change the background color of the module. You'll use the name and the color coding there to kind of recognize that. But if there's a color that you prefer that's, I guess, easy on your eyes, or you just like that color, then you can select that color. You can also define a custom color. So I'm kind of partial to blue, so I could, pick a blue that I liked, and then that could become the color that I'm using. And maybe that's more purple, but you can change the background color, and that's an option for people. I would just be careful with the reset option because it does reset your background as well. Okay, so from here, there's going to be the change the default printer, and with the change the default printer, it's going to allow you to switch over to a different printer without actually exiting the software. So there's lots of churches, lots of households, lots of people who have more than one printer, lots of organizations that have more than one printer. And if there's a printer that you want to use, most times you've got to exit the software to be able to switch over to that printer. This utility is a shortcut to the default printer settings. It allows you to switch printers, click OK, print whatever report it is, and then switch back to your printer and then print the next report. So there is a question from Beverly. Does changing the background color change it for every user or just the current user? I haven't tested that, so Beverly, I'll leave your question for Dan or Jordan. Can each user have a different printer? That's a really good question. I'm going to say no. The default printer is tied to the computer. So unless those people are on different computers, then if they're on the same computer, they would share the same default printer. So, and that might be what you're saying there. Like if they're on different computers, like Pastor has a printer in his office, and the secretary, she has a printer at her desk. They each could have their own printer set as default on their computer, then it would print correctly. Okay. So there's a question from Susan. Hello, Susan. Is this how the financial secretary can transmit info to the treasurer? So I would say no. So with this, and to kind of pull it back into context there. So when you're working with web tools, that's just attendance and offerings. I think what Susan is saying is this a way for the financial secretary to enter and post a batch and have that be transmitted over to the treasurer for the bookkeeping aspect, the finance aspect of it? And this would not be. If that's the case, then they'd have to go through a slightly different process. Okay, so background colors, changing default printers. Below that, there's utilities and there's advanced. And you have two options under advanced. There's modify, remove, and repair Shepherd Staff. So there's times where you're about to run the Shepherd Staff installer from which you can modify, repair, and remove. So there's going to be times where there's a problem with the software and you may need to modify, repair, or remove. You can do that from inside the software right now. Basically, it'll launch you to your public documents folder where there's going to be a copy of the installer stored on your machine. So when you install the software, when you download the software, it's actually making a copy of it on your machine so that you can install and uninstall. It just connects to that utility. It connects to that installer and gives you the option to install or uninstall at that point in time. So I wouldn't uninstall, I guess, just to uninstall, because you are taking the software off your machine, then you'll have to reinstall. But probably this is something that you do under the advisory of a technician. But it'll definitely let you uninstall or reinstall the software. Okay, so let's go back into membership and go to utilities, advanced, and check my connection. There have been some people reporting software error messages, and we know that they're network related. So we created a utility to allow you to start a test to check the network connectivity. And that information can be stored, like those reports can be stored and saved, and then we can send that information to the technicians and send that information to the programming team to try to figure out what's going on. Okay, so those are two utilities. Probably you'll work with one of the software support technicians to work through those utilities. Okay, so let's take a look at calendar of events. So inside of Shepherd Staff, there is a scheduler module, and that scheduler module really is like a sophisticated calendar system. So it's more than just a calendar. It has scheduling capabilities. There's contacts, there's inventory, there's rooms, there's keys. Scheduler is its own thing almost, and it's a big deal. It is tied into membership so that information can be shared, and it's tied into this month at a glance view where there's additional information in here. This has been enhanced. I don't remember birthdays being on this view in the past, so I think that's something that they've added to this. And then you can say whose birthdays you want to see. And it could be from a subgroup, so you could have certain people. There is an option to show today, so you can navigate to different areas and you can jump to today. You can show hide scheduler events. So when you have scheduler events inside the software, not everybody uses scheduler, but there are some people who really like the Shepherd Staff Scheduler module. And if there's things you like about the scheduler module, feel free to pass that information on. Hearing about the things that we like about the software, the things that churches like about the software, help us during the development phases. So there's definitely times where the things we heard were the things that people didn't like, which is good to know those things. But during the development phase, knowing what people don't like and knowing what people like give you the clearest picture for moving forward. So if there's things you like about the scheduler, you can start sending those in. We'd love to hear from you. It'll give us a chance to kind of understand, more about how people are using it and what they would like to see. So with the filter, we could say show events, show room names, show end time. So that would be showing more information. You can include birthdays, anniversaries. You can include that information for non-members and visitors. You can show tasks from the to-do list. And then you can also show who's responsible for those tasks as well. So you can add in additional information here. And then you can expand that area. Like there's definitely times where you're going to have more information than can fit inside of this cell. You can copy that information to clipboard and paste it somewhere else. But this is the month at a glance, and their addition of birthdays and weddings to this view makes this view more powerful. You know, it makes it another area where you can snapshot information. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take our short 5-minute intermission here. So I'm going to pull up the timer and start the timer. And if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the question box. We definitely love to hear from you. I'm going to take a short break, and you guys can as well. Grab something to drink, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thanks, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful intermission. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to our Shepherd Staff software here. And everybody should be able to see my Shepherd Staff screen. So upon returning, we are going to take a look at tools and settings. So this tab has been, it's kind of like a new convention for us. It's been out for a year with the attendance module. But one of the things we wanted to do with this new redesign was to group items together. So things that were buried, we wanted to pull forward so that people could access them at times even without leaving the module. And that's what we're seeing here with a lot of these settings. There's still settings on the main screen. So I'm going to close this here and close screen. So still when you go to utilities and you go to settings, there are some settings here that can be modified and changed. We'll make a decision here pretty soon on where all of these settings are going to go. But we don't have a location for them yet, but you're beginning to see like some of the tabs disappear, and they're now being stored in the module, inside that module on tools and settings. Let's go back to membership here, close this, membership. And inside of membership, tools and settings, we've got these 4 groupings of tools, and all of them are going to relate to membership. Some of them, I guess, we'll probably think about them as being tools more than anything else, but some of them are going to be settings, things that you configure and you just kind of leave them alone and you let them be. So with the, we'll go left, top, bottom, then go right, top, bottom on these here. So we'll start with default when adding new people. So each church is a little bit different, and there may be information that you always know is very similar amongst different records that you're going to add into the system. So specifically people records. So in looking at that, you can state, hey, like all of our people are going to be basically from a very similar city and state. So then whenever you go to add a record, it'll start with that information. So it could be city, state, country, county. It could be the fact that they're going to have a certain newsletter. You could say include in Church 360 Unite, the grade cutoff. Basically, it's going through the process and determining what person, what grade that they're going to be in based on different pieces of information. You could also say, hey, I want to show these fields when I'm going through my quick add. So I may want to determine that information during that point in time. So I'm going to add in some of this information, click save. And we did city, state, digital newsletter is being selected. Include in Church 360 Unite, we have a cutoff date, and then we have these 5 fields selected. So when I go to people and I go to add, then I could say create a new household, and then it's going to fill in this information. Plus, I'm going to see a few additional fields down here. So let's say this is the Smith household. So I could say yes to being a member. Then I've also got baptism and confirmation information here as well. And yes and no for being baptized or confirmed. So just depending on your church, really more than anything else, and the stuff that's going to be consistent from one record to the next, we could save you a bunch of time there. Maybe more, it's like you could save yourself a bunch of time there by turning that on. You can, when you get done, so say this is Bill Smith, you can say go to the window afterwards. So if some of that information was there, and that's 100% true, the validation checks that we've added into the software, it has a lot to do with generating accurate reports. So if I've got a member, and so I said Bill Smith was a member, members have to be received. Like, you're not a member of the church if you didn't join the church, so you have to have received by information. You have to have received by dates, and you have to have a membership code. So those fields just have to be filled in. So I would go back here and I would say, hey, he joined the church through transfer, or it could be affirmation of faith. I can fill in the date, Sunday. Yes, yes, and then I can fill in the membership code, so it could be full member at that point. Then save at that point, and then it would take me over to the household profile, and then I could make any additional changes at that point in time. So I could be in Bill Smith and make household changes, go to the household, then go to the person's name, and I could make changes from there. So quite a bit of flexibility there. Okay, so we'll go back to tools and settings. Those are your default settings when you're adding new people into the system. We can customize field names. I think this is one of the features that is underutilized inside of Shepherd Staff. And the reason why I say that, there's lots of fields that you can customize to make them your own, to help you store and track different information inside of the program. So there's user-defined 3, which we talked about earlier, but there's also our other fields of date 1, date 2, date 3, option 1, 2, and 3, text 1, 2, and 3. There's yes, no check boxes to the right, so it could be yes, no on the fact whether or not they've had a background check, if that's required for certain jobs at the church. The pastoral care options, there's other dates 1, 2, and 3 for households. Service planning, Sunday school grades, you could change that to another name if you needed to. So I don't see, like when I work with customers, I don't see that a lot of the names have been changed. That might have to do with we've added so many fields to the software, but in some of the communications that I hear, there's definitely opportunity here to be able to go in and convert different pieces of information to different things. So with user-defined 3, I'm going to close this just one second. With user-defined 3, that information, so let me go here to Bill Smith inside of the household tree view here. So we're on Bill's record, and then not under personal information, but when I go to church information, there's going to be baptized, confirmed, first communion, and user-defined 3. So whatever I wanted this to be, I could rename it. It would have a checkbox and it would have a date. And then there could be a note as well. So I could do that. I have seen people use the other fields and combine these where there was like an option, a text, a date, and a checkbox. So you could run all 4 of those together, and that could be a concept that you want to apply to your church. So that there's quite a few options there. Say we wanted to, I'm going to go to tools and settings. Say we wanted to change user-defined 3 to be background check. So that's our church 3 tab. We'll say background check, and then we could say save. Do you wish to change the field name user-defined 3 to background check? And we'll say yes. The change will be applied the next time you open membership. So I'm going to close membership and then reopen it. Then when I go to Bill Smith, just a second, then it's going to say background check. Let me close. Maybe I didn't close out far enough. Let me close this here. So go to membership, Bill Smith. Then it's going to say background check at that point in time. So I could check the box and then I can fill in the date and say he completed it on Monday. And then I could save my changes, and that information would then be in the system, and then I could report on that information if I'd like. So when it comes to storing additional data. There's these additional fields that you can use. And the benefit of using these custom fields is that they can be included on reports. So earlier today, we were talking about report writer, and I was, hey, you can select these different fields within the program. Well, now there's going to be background check. Or is it still going to say user defined 3? I will pass that on to the programmer. I think that's still going to say user defined 3. No, it's not there. I will have to talk to the programming team about that one. And it should be showing up in here. I might just be missing it. And it may not be in there. But I'll talk to the programming team about that and get to the bottom of it. But you should be able to use it on reports with your other fields, because when I was looking at that, it does have like your person options in here, like household date 1, household date 2, household date 3. And then there's MNOP, person date 1, person date 2, person option 1. So all those options are in there. And we'll figure out what happened with my rename field there. So we'll close that. Let's go back to, we'll close report writer here. And underneath report writer, close people here. Underneath tools and settings, there's customized fields. So you can change those. Next, we'll go to tools. And underneath tools, we're gonna have 5 different tools. So archival and cleanup is gonna be how you're going to hide or purge people from the system. So with archival and backup, it's a combination of deleting and purging. So you click there, you click start, and the people that are going to show in here are going to be the people who didn't have any attendance and or offerings that you're able to delete from the system. So if I close this, go to people, and like I have Bill Smith here, he doesn't have any attendance or offerings. I can click delete. And are you sure you want to delete Bill Smith? I can say yes. Since he doesn't have any attendance or offerings, it'll delete him from this view, and it will move him into our archival and cleanup area. And then we'll have Bill Smith in here. So he was archived on this date. So at that point, if I wanted to restore him back into the system, I could. And then there's also going to be a purge option. So the purge option is one of those things that's on our list that's going to be coming soon. It's going to resemble the cleanup utility that you would have used in the past. Just to note, for those people who have like questions about it, it ties into marking people as removed. So you mark the person as removed, you run this purge utility, it looks through your whole database and it finds those people who are removed, and then you'll decide whether or not you want to purge those people. So if you want to purge all the people who are removed by transfer between a certain date range, you can do that. If you want to purge all people who were removed by inactivity, you can do that. All the people who were removed by other, you can do that. So you can pick that. You can pick anybody who was removed by basically saying all people that are removed, and you can purge those people. So the decision is where I hear from most customers, more questions than anything else. Explaining how the software does it is one thing. Deciding on who to purge and whether or not it's a good idea is a whole nother thing. And that really should be a conversation that's taken place inside of the church. When you call us, we're going to question why you're purging. We're going to be like, hey, well, why do you want to purge these people? And we'll explain some of the drawbacks. Deleting people also deletes their attendance and their offerings. It can make it hard to generate accurate reports. So if they gave $1,000 last year and then you decide to purge them this year, and you run a 2-year comparison report, last year versus this year, it's going to be short $1,000. So the technician is definitely going to be concerned when talking about purging people, and they're probably going to advise not to purge people, to just use subgroups to filter out people you don't want to see. If you decide to continue forward, they've like understanding that, hey, these reports will not include those people or their attendance and offerings, you'll be able to go ahead and purge. So this will be another utility that we'll post on the blog when it comes out here in the near future, so that people can run the utility and clean up if they want to clean up. We've kind of, pushed it back a little bit into the software because we don't want people to end up in a situation where there's data that they want and they can't find it because it's been purged. Linda asked the question, how far back into history does the system use regarding attendance and offerings? I'm going to say forever. That's a good question, because I think the concepts of all and ever are kind of like, when you say it doesn't always carry the same kind of weight. So, not being able to delete a person if they have a single attendance or offering record, then that stops you from being able to use the delete button to delete them, but you could purge them from the system using the purge utility. So one single record is all it takes in attendance or offerings to stop them from being able to be deleted. And then you would have to head down the road of purge. If a name / address, I'm sorry, hello, Jenny. If a name / address that is in the archive list is added again, is there a pop-up that says the person is already in the database but in the archive list? At this time, there is not a pop-up. I tested that maybe about a week ago, and I passed that on to the programming team. So that's something we're going to be looking into getting added back into the software. But at this moment in time, there's not a duplicate name check in the system. So that's something we're looking into. Okay, and I think, let me answer one more question, and I think I'll answer 2 more questions, and then I think I'll have to leave the other one to my associate to research and get an answer for you. So there was, when I use, let me start that over, I'm sorry. When I open user security, I do not see any tabs for details. How do I get to that? Hello, that was church office. Okay, so that's archiving. If there's any questions about archiving, feel free to post that in the question box. The details button, and I think I was pretty quick on that. I was talking about like touch points and security. So when you go to utilities and go to user security, you're going to have this view right here. And if you double click on one of the users, you'll have user info, user information, module access, email access, and web access. You'll be able to go to module access. And I kind of went through this pretty quickly, but there's no access, user, and then there's supervisor. When you're on user, there's going to be a details option. And then that's how you can decide if that person has rights to touch points or does not. Or it could be like this person could have rights to everything but touch points. So you'll make that decision as an administrator on who can access what. If you make the person a supervisor, they will have access to touch points. And if you make them no access, they won't. If you make them user, you'll go through with the mix and match, and you'll be like, okay, yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, and you'll just kind of go down the list at that point. Okay, thanks, church office. There's a question from Susan. When running reports, are confirmed and baptized people counted when there is no date in that field? And I'm going to say yes, they are counted. If you're running that report and it's saying, hey, we want all confirmed members, it's going to count those people, or we want all baptized members, it's going to count those people. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so let's see, look at my notes here. Let's go to combine duplicate person information. So membership, tools and settings, and combine duplicate person information. So inside of the system, I'm going to go to people here for a second. And I believe okay, there we go. So I was trying to remember who I set my my people up as. So this William Wilson, I was setting him up. He's actually other. Okay, so these are my duplicate people. Okay, so inside of my system, and this is also how I know that they don't have the duplicate checks, because in preparation to show you how to run this utility, I created two people and I made them the same. I made the first names a little bit different than being identical so that I could easily tell the difference between the two. So I have a Bill Wilson and a William Wilson, and those are my duplicate people. Both of them represent the exact same person. So they're here inside of the program. And once they're in there, then if I go to tools and settings, I have the option to combine duplicate person information. So I can go to start, and this tool combines one person's information with another person. Because this cannot be undone, please back up your database. And when they say it cannot be undone, it's without a backup, it's literally impossible to undo it, because it's going to take the one person's name and put it on all the other person's records and combine them together. So it's impossible. So please back up before you run this utility, so we don't have a mess on our hands. So we'll say yes. And then over here, we'll find Bill or William Wilson. And we're going to, in looking at it, we're going to keep Bill Wilson. And then over here, we're going to pull up William Wilson. So basically, you're connecting the two people together. This is the person that you're going to merge into the other person over here. So we're going to keep Bill's record, or we're going to keep William's record, and we're going to merge Bill into it. And Bill and William, they're both the same person. Like, these are duplicate records. Like, we were working with the data and we made a mistake. We didn't mean to have two people that represented the same human being in the software. So from there we go to continue, and when it continues, it compares the two records versus each other. So conflicting information was found. Please select the checkboxes with the most correct information. So then at that point in time, I can mix and match the information that I want to keep. So it's saying that, hey, this is the information that I want to keep. So if there was a different first name, I could switch them But this is the information that I want to keep. So then I'll say apply. Combine Bill Wilson with William Wilson under the name William Wilson. And then I'll say yes. Oh, combine with. What if I click no? Ah. Okay. I'm going to say let's use our imagination on this one. And I'm going to say apply. I'm going to say yes. And those two people merge together. Then when we went back into people, we would just have one William Wilson at that point in time. There would be no Bill Wilson. So, and I'll report that utility to the programming team. Let me make a note here. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so after the combine utility, we're going to use the find data entry issues utility. So tools and find data issues utility. Then from there, we'll go to start. And then this is going to search through your data, and there's certain things that the programming team knows just based on the data. So there's a series of rules that they run through, and there's going to be some things that are going to be weird about the data. We have some made up scenarios inside of ours. Unbaptized members. For you to be a member of a church, you have to be baptized. So that's one of those things you'll want to update. There's also confirmed before being baptized. Like it just doesn't quite work that way. So it'll provide those things to review. You could then go to print, and you could print this report, go back into your data, and just update the data. So this is one of those utilities that is out there. Let's close that. Mass update membership information. For those of you who use person assigned and ministry groups, this utility is going to be important. It's going to warn you to back up because once again, changes that you make here are not easily undone. Like you have to manually go back and make these changes. So it's almost, it would be easier doing this than with combine, because with combine, you wouldn't know whose information was what, but with this, you could be like, hey, I can just go back and manually reassign each one's person assigned or ministry group information. But having a backup is really the best use case scenario for getting that taken care of. So underneath here, you'll select who, and you'll select the people you want to update. Then what you can do is you can go into, and we're going to use person assigned. So we're going to use the household person assigned. I would note with this release, there's now an individual person assigned in an individual ministry group. So that means you can have data there that is different than what's inside the household record. So the household record would be primary, but there could be a different person assigned for one of the family members. So there's going to be times where certain ministry leaders, certain elders leave. And say that Dave Abbott is, he got transferred to a job somewhere else and he's moving on. So we can take Dave Abbott and say that Tom Martin is going to take over his ministry group. He's going to take over the person that he's ministering to. So Dave Abbott and Tom Martin. So then I'll say next. It'll then at that point show me the names. So these households, what's going to happen? Household person assigned. And then change from Dave Abbott to Tom Martin. I can export that list to Excel. And then at that point, we can click continue. You are about to change the following for 11 individuals. This is everyone, but 11 people out of the everyone. Household person assigned, switching from Dave Abbott to Tom Martin, and we're saying yes. Then finish. Then when we go back into people list, and once we're under list, we can look at their person assigned. So here, Tom Martin, and then these are going to be all the people assigned to Tom Martin. And there should not be any people assigned to Dave Abbott. And that's correct. So that's how the mass update's going to work. There's probably some other little scenarios, like if you're kind of cleaning up the database, you may want to use the mass update to help you clean up the database and move information around. We can definitely help you with any of those scenarios. But the mass update, the good thing about it is you back up, you don't have to worry about it, then you can go in and make large wholesale changes to the data and get your information where you want it to be without having to edit every single record one by one. Okay, promote students. So promote students to the next grade. One of the questions, actually I want to say there's 2 or 3 main questions with promote students. What I wanted to do was go to list, excuse me, go to list and show our Sunday school grades and show our school grades. So one of the questions that we always get is, does this information, or when it comes to promoting students, does it promote Sunday school grades or does it promote school grades? And the answer is it promotes both. Sunday school grades and school grades will get promoted. They'll add 1 to it, so it moves it forward. You always want to back up and you never want to run the utility twice, but it'll promote them forward 1 grade. So we have Sunday school grades and school grades. We'll look at Jacob Abbott here, preschool 4. So if we go to tools, we go to promote students and we click start. Then you are about to promote students for Sunday school grades and regular grades. Please make sure you have a current backup of your database before continuing. So one of the questions is, does it promote both? That's yes. And they always ask, what is clear the Sunday school section when promoting? So if you're a large congregation and you have multiple sections for Sunday school grades, like you have Sunday school grade 5A and Sunday school grade 5B. So A and B representing sections. So you going to 6th grade might not mean that you're in section A or in section B. So you may want to clear the Sunday school grades and then go back in and manually add those Sunday school grades into the system. So I'm going to go to promote students. The promote students function is difficult to undo, which is very true. If you run this and you don't have a backup and it's wrong, or you run this twice and you don't have a backup, you've got to go through each record and update that record. So it's very true, it's difficult to undo. So please back up. And then if you have to undo, we'll just help you restore the backup. Do you wish to promote students? We say yes, we do. 8 were promoted in school, 7 were promoted in Sunday school. The sections, the grade sections were cleared. So then from there, we can go back to people. These are our list. Then when we look at Sunday school grades and we look at the Abbotts here, he's now in kindergarten. So he went from preschool 4 up to kindergarten. There's not a preschool 5, so. Okay, wonderful. So that's how promote students works. It doesn't run automatically. I guess that's a third question. It won't automatically run without you. You as an administrator, you'll go in, you'll run the utility when you feel comfortable doing it, and then those people will be updated. So you'll be good to go there. Okay, so let's go back to tools and settings. The last 2 are data entry. So you can state require a membership code. Not every denomination uses membership codes, but it can be required. I know denominations that use it and like it and it's not a requirement, and I know denominations that it is a requirement and they don't particularly care for it. So it's really up to the church. If your denomination does require it, then I would advise using it because it's going to be part of your annual reports and you're going to need that information. So require membership code and require received by and date received. So on the main Shepherd staff screen, utilities, settings, there's the system tab, and then there's an addition. So that addition determines different things inside of the software. I can't say a whole lot of things, but there are definitely things you use a lot. It's which annual reports you receive within the software, whether or not you're required to use received by and removed by. It could be the terminology inside of those drop-down lists. It could be that there's additional reporting like the LCMS Youth List report. There's several little things, and it's all around membership and statuses and reporting is what it is when it comes to these additions. So if you switch to a different edition, there's going to be different requirements. So it's telling me I have to restart Shepherd staff. So I'll do that. Then when I log back in, sysadmin. Okay, so then when I log back in and I go to membership, the terminology in my drop list will be different, but also now I cannot uncheck data entry choices. So you'll see how it says your addition requires these settings for accurate reporting. So there was a lot of effort put in to just make sure that reports would be more accurate going forward in the future. That's a lot of the things that we heard over the last few years. So you're welcome, Linda. Let's see, what is the membership code? The membership code, that's a really good question. So when you go into, like I go into Dave Abbott's here, when I go to Church tab, there's going to be membership code, and these membership codes, affiliate, associate, full member, preparatory, unknown. There's some denominations that use those to help with their annual reports, and some denominations don't use it. Some of them just look at member and they look at the received by information. So it's just it's kind of like another designation inside your membership status. So you could be a full member, you could be a preparatory member, you could be an associate, or you could be an affiliate. And then that just helps with reporting. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look here. Okay, it looks like there's two other things I need to talk about. Let me double check the time here. 2:28, so I've got probably about another 10 minutes and then we'll jump into the another 10 minutes and then we'll jump into the quiz. So the two things that I need to talk about that are on the syllabus is there is an export membership information utility. So if I go to reports and I go to export/import membership information, I can select which people I want to export from the software. I can select the data that I want to export, and then I can preview that information. It'll show the data here. I can filter one more time if I'd like, but then I can export that information to Excel, and then in most cases, this would be used for like photo directories done with photo directory companies. So that's the thought process behind this, that you could go through, select a smart group, and just export this information. So let me close that. The other thing that I wanted to show was mail merge. So lots of churches do a mail merge at some point in time to create labels or create form letters to send out to people to follow up with them. You can do that by going to Reports and then going to Mail Merge. Then it brings up the Mail Merge window. With the Mail Merge window, you can create layouts and then save them to be used in the future. So it could be a new layout. There could be categories, report titles, descriptions. Most times when people use a mail merge, they're just doing form letters. So lots of times they'll go in and they're going to select an addressee, which is going to be naming information. So when you're here, you can go through the different tabs. It could come down to the type of export that you're doing. So like you could be saying, hey, I just want to do members because I want to follow up with those people. It could be that you're trying to follow up with contributors and you're saying only one contributor. You could say only one per household, only select a different event or fund. Let me note that when it comes to the mail merge, the mail merge is really only working with membership, attendance, and contributions information. It is not working with finance information or scheduler information. So that might kind of help you determine whether or not you want to use this report or whether or not you want to use another report for creating whatever you're trying to create. So like if we're doing household, I could say household name. Then I could go to contact and actually under household, I want to use, actually let me use addressee style 1. And then primary line 1, which would be your address, and then we could do city, state, zip, and postal code. So I could use those 4 pieces of information, and really I'm probably just going to use these 3. But then I could include the field names in the first row. I could use a field separator if need be. Then I can select how I'm going to export the information from the program. So it could be send a file, it could be export to Excel, it could be mail merge, and it could be print. So this situation, I think most people, they're thinking about mail merges. And then when it jumps out to the mail merge part of the software, you'll have your letter. And you could have the letter already prepared and copy and paste that letter into this window. And then you don't have to create a whole new letter, or you could start the mail merge and start typing your letter, whichever one you would prefer in that situation. I'm going to cheat just a little bit here, and I'm going to use some lorem ipsum. And actually the one that I'm going to use is bacon ipsum. So paragraphs 5, and then I'm going to go down to 3 paragraphs. And then at that point, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to act like this is the text of my message that I'm going to send out to my congregation here. So at that point, I'm going to paste this in here. Okay. Then if I'm creating a form letter, I could say dear, then insert merge field, and that could be address style 1, comma, and then, and actually I want to slide this down a little bit further. And if I wanted to insert mailing information, it could be address, shift enter, primary address, shift enter, and primary city, state, zip, postal. So the shift enter, when you use that, it skips, it doesn't skip like that little space in between. So it's not a full carriage return. It just jumps right below the line that you're on. So I'm going to shift this over to the right here. Okay, and then down at the bottom, I could say sincerely, Pastor Kent Williams. And I could leave a spot for a signature line at that point. Okay, so then at that point, I have my letter. It's completed. I can make any changes that I wanted to at that point in time. I can go back to mailings. That's going to be the core of everything that I'm doing with this mail merge. From there, I can preview my results, see how everything looks. So Mr. and Mrs. Richard Montgomery. And if I had more than one salutation, I could select that when I'm creating the mail merge. But from there, once I preview it, then I go to finish and merge, and then I can say edit individual documents, going with all. There it goes. And then as I scroll down, you'll just see one document after another document. If I needed to make a change, I could. If I needed to tweak something, I could as well. So that's the way the mail merge works. It's basically taking the fields and the list of names and dumping it into Word so you can create your own form letters. Now, with the mail merge utility, it's more than just form letters. It also gives you the option to export this information just to a text file. You can send it and export it out to Excel, and you can print that as well. So you have all those options there. So let me move this over here. And then this is the CSV file that's created. And let me bring that Excel file back up. And then this is the CSV file, which opens up in Excel. And then you can make changes, you can widen your fields, and you can print that out as well. So I have seen people use this as a start for a mail merge, but really the thought behind the export to Excel is going to be the fact that you could select any fields that you wanted, include that in your export, and then use it however you wanted to use it at that point in time. So and I would just note that there's also a pledge mail merge inside the contributions module. Okay, so that's the information that I had for this session. Perfect. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to the quiz questions. There we go. Everybody should be able to, let me make sure of it. There we go. Wonderful. So everybody should be able to see the polls. Feel free to answer the questions. I'm going to read them out loud so that everybody can hear them and everything and kind of understand. So multiple choice, your grids are in a strange order. What utility can be used to quickly and easily fix this? It's A, reset grid columns to their default width and order. So actually use the reset grid button, grid column, third time's a charm. Reset the grid columns to their default width and order button. B, database rebuild, or C, recreate work database. So 3 utilities, A, B, or C. Okay, so it looks like everybody's had a chance to vote, so I'll close the poll. Actually, let me give it just a few more seconds there. Okay, I will close the poll and share the results. So we had a 3-way split with people leaning towards option A there with the reset grid columns to their default width and order. So I'll hide the poll and share the answer. And the answer is gonna be reset all screen sizes and sort orders. This is gonna reset them. This is gonna reset your grids back to their default sizes. So inside the software, when you are membership, people, It's this icon right here, reset grid columns to their default width and order. And if you get them out of sync, you can just click that icon and it'll change everything back to the way it was, I guess, when you installed this release. So that's a good call. And I'll have to fix that slide there. True or false? Question number 2. Okay, everybody should be able to see that the mass update can be used to mass update fields for the contribution module. This one's a little tricky. Okay, we'll give it about another 15 seconds here. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the poll and share the results. So we had a split, 23 people, 23% of the people saying true and 77% of the people saying false. So we'll hide the results and we'll share the answer. And the answer is false. The mass update utility can only be used to update fields from the membership module. This includes household, person, and activities and more. And I think it's just household and person nowadays. I don't think it's activities anymore. So, and they're strictly drop lists now. So when working with this, it's going to be household people and it's going to be drop lists that are inside of the software. So that's the way the mass update is going to work going forward. Probably the thought process that some people had was with mail merge, you have the option to do a mail merge for contributions. Okay, question number 3, true or false? The archival and cleanup utility can be used to delete people from the membership module. And we'll say delete people when the utility gets released. They'll be able to delete people from the membership module. Okay, we'll give it about another 20 seconds here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and close the poll and share the results. So the results are 86% of the people said true and 14% of the people said false. So I'll hide the results and share the answer. And the answer is true. You can use this utility to purge, remove people from the database. This does also delete any attendance and contributions data associated with the removed person. Please back up prior to running this utility, and we will post something out on the blog about this when we release that feature here in the near future, the purge part of it. Okay, and the 4th and final quiz question. True or false, the mail merge utility can be used for other tasks besides sending letters. True or false? Okay, that looks pretty good. Wonderful. I'll go ahead and close the poll and share the results. 93% of the people said true and 7% of the people said false. So I'll hide the results and share the answer. There we go. And the answer is true. The mail merge utility comes in handy for exporting specific fields into Excel for reporting purposes. So wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate everybody coming out and joining us today. Do you have any questions? Feel free to post those questions in the question box. We'd love to hear from you. Before people start dropping off, it happens pretty quickly here at the end of the sessions. I do want to thank everybody for attending today's webinar and this whole series of webinars. We hope these helped people out and helped people understand the kind of the changes that are coming to the software and kind of give them a leg up or a head start when it comes to understanding how to use the new version. If you don't have questions now, of course, you can always reach out to us, 1-800-346-6120. We'd love to hear from you. And you can send an email to support@cts.cph.org. Thank you so much, Debbie. I really appreciate it. And we'll try to, I don't see why we wouldn't, but we'll try to do these webinars when we release Scheduler again, coming up here in the near future. So sounds good. Thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate it. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you. Oh, definitely. Sounds good. Thank you so much, June. I really appreciate it. Okay, wonderful. Okay. It looks like a little over half of the people have dropped off, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap everything up. We'll download the webinars and we'll get those uploaded and get the emails sent out to everyone. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for the privilege to help everybody out and help all your churches out. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so for Jordan Bogart and Dan Ray, this is Rod Kiles, and we really appreciate everything. We are signing off. Talk to you soon, everybody. Thank you.